This is the Fellow Ode coffee grinder. I've had this one for a couple of months now, and in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about what I like about it and some of the things that perhaps I don't like so much. Do I need another coffee grinder in my life was the question I asked myself when I took a look and heard about the Fellow Ode. And I've put off buying one for that simple reason. I have a whole shelf full of coffee grinders, but I'd heard good things about this grinder, and I thought the only way to kind of understand it properly is to get hold of a model myself. Now, it looks great, it looks good, it's got a compact size to it, and I've been using it at home for a couple of months predominantly to brew filter coffee, because that's what I usually drink. And the one thing that struck me above all else is how fast and how quiet it is when it operates. I use about 30 grams of coffee at a time, so like half-litre batches, and it grinds through those 30 grams of coffee in about 8 seconds, which is pretty fast. I compared to the Wilfer Classic and the Wilfer Uniform. My Wilfer Classic took 14 seconds on a similar grind setting, and my Wilfer Uniform took 40 seconds on a similar grind setting. So it's quick, and that is a big plus for this grinder. It's got 64mm flat burrs. They're the kind of size of burr you'd expect on kind of like a medium commercial size grinder. So it's got a lot going for it in that respect. Because the burrs are bigger, the motor can turn slower, which means the coffee is looked after a little bit more during the grinding process. Now, it's worth mentioning here that this is not a grinder for espresso. It will deal with all of the brewing methods, cafetières, filters, aeropresses and so forth, but it won't do and won't grind fine enough for espresso. Now, that's not a criticism in any shape or form. In fact, it's probably an advantage of the grinder, because what it does really well. It doesn't try to be all things to all people. It just tries to do and focus on one thing really well. Now, it has 31 grind settings, which you can access on the dial on the front here. It's nice and easy, clicks into place at each of the different settings. And to help you get started, nicely inside the lid here, there is a little guide to each of those grind settings, giving you a suggestion of which grind setting to use for the various brew methods you might be using. So the top hopper will hold about 80 grams of coffee, and similarly, the little grounds chamber down here will hold a similar amount. So if you like to brew kind of just over a litre batches of coffee, then this will do for you just as well. There's a nice little touch at the bottom here. This little ground coffee holder is magnetic, so as it slides into place, it gets pulled into the right and correct spot underneath here. Nice touch, but the one thing I don't like about it is the actual container itself. There's a couple of things that bother me. One is this rubber seal. It doesn't seem to fit very well. And secondly, the fins inside. They've put fins inside to assist in the pouring of the coffee grounds. I just think they get in the way, if I'm honest. And the other thing, I like to use the container or the lid to weigh up my beans. It's a habit I've formed, and in both cases it fails in that respect. If you try to use the lid to weigh out your beans, there's not a sufficient lid around the outside, so your beans just happily bounce off and fall off. And again, in terms of this, you've got to take the lid off, and I think the fins can get in the way a little bit when I'm weighing and pouring out my beans. A couple of the little things that are really nice in this grinder. It's got a little knock bar here to get rid of grounds that are caught up inside, so you get oily grounds coming through into the cabinet here. It's quite robust as well. It's a good solid little knock bar just there. They haven't compromised at all in terms of that. And it also has an auto off facility. So once you start grinding, once it's detected there's no beans left, it turns itself off. Now, the benefits of that are you've only got a very simple control to this, one very simple switch at the front. It keeps it nice, keeps it clean, keeps it crisp. You don't have to worry about timers and turning it off and so forth, which I think is a really nice touch. It does look good. It looks good on the worktop. It has a nice small footprint considering how well it works. So this grind is going to set you back around about £300. Now, compared to Wilfer Classic, which comes in around about £135, personally I think the Wilfer Classic is a great and probably the best entry-level grinder. If you've not been grinding coffee before, it's a really decent investment. However, the Fellow Ode is a step up again. It's quieter, It's faster, and personally I think it grinds the coffee better than the Wilfer Classic. I've come to really like this grinder. There's a couple of little niggles that I have, but to be honest with you, they're minor. Overall, it's a great piece of kit. If you've used one yourself or own one yourself, I'd love to hear your thoughts about them. If you've got any comments or questions, please feel free to get in touch. Once again, thanks for your likes, thanks for your subscribes, and thanks for watching.